Labour leader Jacinda Ardern says she's not actually sure what's been agreed to in regards to accepting Manus Island refugees. Manus Island closes next Tuesday, 31st of October. Where do they go? To some other hellhole is the answer. However, the new Prime Minister says she is committed to doubling our refugee quota up to 1,500. It is likely to be one of the many issues up for discussion at a new exhibition that's being launched by journalist and political commentator Tracy Barnett. And Tracy joins me now. Tracy, lovely to have you on the program.
Good morning, Duncan.
Just very quickly, I want to start with this Manus Island. What's happening there?
Well, as we see, it's closing as of Tuesday, and this is going to be a huge flashpoint because they're shutting down water, they're shutting down power, sanitation. They've given these men 1 month worth of medication, and you need to know that these men have been broken over these last 4 years systematically. One line that a source of mine told me recently that really haunts me is he said, whatever you've read about Manus, whatever you've heard, it's 100 times worse. These are mentally ill men who have been mentally tortured over a period of time.
And this is on Australia's watch.
Australia's watch and our region, I might say. And it's really important to note that what has New Zealand said about this in the last 4 years? Not a word.
Nothing. Now, this is an inhumane hellhole, and these are human beings. What should New Zealand do? Now, New Zealand's already put an offer out, I think, is it for 150 of them to come to New Zealand?
Right. A few years ago, then Prime Minister John Key and Julia Gillard in Queenstown agreed to a deal. Who knows what was on the table that was quid pro quo that was exchanged then, but the deal was that we would take 150 Australian refugees every year. Now, this is instead of our usual UNHCR refugees. That's a bit of a problem because once countries start exchanging refugees with their buddies, there's going to be all kinds of trouble there. Having said that, this could be a one-off. This could be an opportunity like the Tampa to come to the table and rescue what has been a terrible, horrendous chapter.
How many refugees are there?
Right now, there's about 606 left, as well as some others in hospitals and other places in the town.
Okay, and how many did Helen Clark take off the Tampa? Was it 600 or 300?
Well, I can't remember the number. I think it was closer to around 300.
Yes, and that was as part of our quota, wasn't it?
It was at the time.
Okay, and those refugees have actually settled in well in New Zealand, haven't they?
They've become stellar citizens. You know, they've become pharmacists and mechanics and carpenters and teachers and everything else that any other Kiwi would do once given the chance that we have.
What should Jacinda Ardern do? If she's a humanitarian, and she says she is she under pressure to take some of these people?
Well, what's happened is it is the Australian folks that have put the nix on this deal. Tony Abbott said, we don't want New Zealand to become, quote unquote, a consolation prize. And that's what's happened. So it is the Australians that have stopped it from being taken up. I think they're afraid that once Kiwis, they come here and become Kiwis, they'll go back to Australia through the back door.
Okay.
See, when some people think of refugees, they do think weak, poor. They sometimes think it's a threat. It's a negative thing. So in your words, what is the benefits to New Zealanders and New Zealand having resettled refugees here? You know,
it's really funny. One of the reasons that I've opened up this exhibit that's happening in Wellington starting this Friday is to talk about that being a refugee, in fact, should be a transitive verb instead of a noun. You know, it is truly a terrible chapter in what is a much bigger life. I mean, look at our newest MP, who's Golriz Ghahman. You know, she came here as a 9-year-old from Iran, and, her parents were political dissidents. They asked for asylum here. She's gone on to be Oxford-educated, human rights lawyer, child advocate, and now our newest MP.
We should get her on. I think you make a good point about her. And now she's part of a government, and there are 600-odd men who are suffering the terrible impact of being on Manus Island. I wonder if New Zealand shouldn't be doing more here. I mean, this is in our neighbourhood. It's in our backyard. It's a few hours up the road.
Absolutely.
What should we do?
We should speak out. We have been silent this entire time. And New Zealand, for all our foibles, and we do need to give more money to the sector, we are fairly fair players in this region.
But are we? Because our silence is shameful, isn't it?
It is shameful. And that needs to change. And I'm hopeful that this government will change that indeed.
Do you think they will? Do you have hope, really?
I'm that half-full person in your poll here. And I really believe that actually we can choose to do the right thing, and we should. And I think most Kiwis want to do the right thing.
What's your exhibition like? So just talk us through that.
Well, what's great about this exhibition is it's not just these beautiful artworks by a fabulous photographer, Alistair Guthrie, but it's going to be a talking space around refugee issues for the next 10 days. So we have, for example, Sir Geoffrey Palmer will be there on the opening night. We have Golriz will be speaking. We have the ambassadors of Italy and Turkey talking about hotspots in their country. We will have young refugee voices talking about I am not a label and why. And we have something goofy, but I think actually fascinating, and it's called a human library. And what we're doing is inviting former refugees to come and sit down and one-on-one or in small groups just simply talk and chat to whoever comes in.
So it's like meet one of the refugees.
Speed dating without the date.
Speed dating refugee.
Without the date.
Without the what?
Without the date.
Yeah,
sure.
Safer for all of us, for them and us. Good on you, Tracy. Well done. Keep pushing it as well.
Thank you,
You make some really good points and some questions that need to be answered.